Welcome to my IR4 podcast. This is Jeremy Newsom, Brian Masterson, back at it again. Our camera woman's tripping over cords. It's getting crazy in here. Segwit 2 is coming up for you Bitcoin enthusiasts.
The hard fork. The soft spoon. I'm a soft spoon kind of guy.
I'm a spork. We don't have any guests today, so it's going to be Jeremy and I chatting on...
What happened so fast? We got too many requests about this, and we're like, we got to knock this out right now.
Right, so we have a lot to talk about.
A lot. Strap in.
Right now, and where we're going with that. Thanks for being here. Ready to go?
Let's do it.
So, Jeremy, what do you know about Segwit 2X?
Oh, what do I know about it? So I did watch, or I listened to the podcast. We interviewed billionaires, and he was talking. He actually had Charlie Lee, the inventor of Litecoin, and they were asking about Segwit 2X and block speed and what they thought, and Bitcoin Gold, and they were talking about this whole thing. It's interesting. It's interesting. It's going to be a pretty big disruption in the legacy chain, I think, in regards to just how people are interpreting what it's going to do and what's going to happen. And it's a big rumble. This hard fork is, I think, more controversial. I don't know if it's the right word, but it's causing more of an uproar than the last one.
Yeah.
And why is that?
Well,
why is this such a big deal?
I'll get to that, but you were the one who was saying, I think last week when Bitcoin was on a tear over 7,000.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, it's going to 9 and it will correct back to 6. Do you still believe that?
Yeah.
Why? Because I don't think so.
Oh, well, I mean, it could pull back. It could pull back before then. I mean, we could go to 6. I'm gonna go ahead and input a chart right there, and I'll do a little bit of drawings for you guys. I mean, right now we're about 7.73.
But here's what
we're at 7.7. I mean,
here's what I'm saying though. You're looking at trend lines as far as charts go.
I'm looking at technical analysis. That's really all I'm looking at. You're looking at more fundamental.
Correct.
But I mean, the other hard forks. People bought into the hard fork before it happened because they were excited about getting the other coin. I mean, this is like a dividend, if you will, for cryptocurrency.
Yeah, a lot of people
it's free money.
A lot of people,
This is weird.
A lot of people who aren't as versed as some of the other experts in this space are coming to me and is like, is this a stock split? What is a hard fork?
Yeah.
And it's typically a bit more complicated than a stock split. Now,
can I try to explain how I explained it?
Sure.
And do you tell me if I'm just totally wrong?
Okay.
I probably am.
Okay.
I tell people, and I say, very rudimentary, this is how it's going to work. But imagine if you have a $100 bill and you try to go to a gas station to pay for a Snickers bar. It's much easier if you take the $100 bill, break it up into smaller increments, and use a 10 to pay for your thing rather than 100.
Okay, yeah.
So a hard fork is giving you more diversity and more coins, because if you have just one giant Bitcoin, okay, how are you going to make these smaller transactions with this huge coin?
Yeah.
And it's better to have the smaller ones. Is that?
I think
am I close?
That's kind of a blend. People? That's kind of a blend of two factors, but that's somewhat correct. Okay. So the whole reason for this hard fork, and I'll send you this link so we can share everyone with it. But Consensus is this. Well, Consensus is a company that promotes the development of decentralized applications for Ethereum, and Consensus has a conference every year up in New York City. And at Consensus this past year, the New York Agreement was signed. Okay. Are you familiar with the New York Agreement?
Nope.
Okay. So the New York Agreement, and it has a list of all these companies, and I pulled it up so I could go through some of these companies, but 58 companies located in 22 countries signed this agreement, and this is to activate Segwit. Some of these companies include, let's see, I'm going to name some ones that will be familiar to Bitfury, Blockchain, Block with a Q, BTC, BTCC, Coinbase, Civic, Circle. So there's a lot, like Genesis Mining,
that's a big one.
Jax, that's a good wallet one, Ripio, Shapeshift.
So what are these again? What are you reading?
These are companies that have signed this New York agreement to move onto the hard fork Segwit chain. Okay. So to be the new chain, and essentially it'd be like a new Bitcoin, right? Why has it become a new Bitcoin and it's not like Bitcoin Cash is because of where the miners point.
Okay.
Without the miners, the transactions on a certain chain cannot get clearance or get verification, which means the blocks just stop because what happens when you verify a transaction, it gets put into a block.
Yep.
Once that block on the legacy chain, the original Bitcoin, gets capped at 1 megabyte, it's done. Block reward, move on to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
What this causes so like back when transactions first started happening, it was all these miners, actually not many, people on their home computers could do it, and then it eventually moved all the way up to ASIC mining, could verify a transaction by computing the SHA-256 algorithm. Well, when that happens and you verify that transaction happened, boom, 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 and you solve that for a block, you get rewarded.
You get rewarded with a coin.
Right. And what happened last year was the halving, and not many people know what the halving is, but that's the reward. The reward gets halved every 4 years.
Yeah.
So with the more adoption of Bitcoin coming along, the more transactions there are. Okay, so there was kind of a logjam in validating these transactions. So miners are working harder, means they're using more electricity, and if they're getting rewarded in Bitcoin, they have to essentially exchange that Bitcoin for whatever type of fiat currency they're using for their electric company.
Yeah.
And that's always, you always want to outpace your electric bill, right?
Yeah.
So you always want to solve and make more Bitcoin than how much it costs to run.
Yep.
Because if your electricity bill, business 101, if your electricity bill is more than what you're getting rewarded as far as mining goes, why the hell would you mine that coin?
Mm-hmm.
Sean, who was on one of our podcasts that hasn't been released yet, is mining Zcash with his GPU. A GPU is just like a sophisticated gaming computer. This is a CPU, and then the ASIC miner is actually specifically manufactured for Bitcoin mining. Yeah. So, where we're at now is there's a log jam of verification of transactions. If you got a $5 transaction, and so like you can choose in your wallets, some of your wallets, how quickly you want that transaction to be verified. Mm-hmm. Do you want it quickly? Do you not really care because you can wait a day, or what is it?
Yeah.
But the quicker you want your verification, and remember, this didn't exist 2 or 3 years ago.
Right.
Because no one was really like, a few people were involved in the cryptocurrency space.
But now people are using it, implementing it. There's transactions. There's utilization of it.
100,000 people signed up to Coinbase in one day.
Yeah.
Like 3 or 4 days ago.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. Good for Coinbase, by the way.
Good for Coinbase. But can they handle that volume? Because in the past, it takes 5 to 7 days to get your coin from Coinbase.
Right.
If you're using a bank account depositing in, and so it can be a strenuous task for people who really don't know what they're doing. Or one of the beauties of Bitcoin that is very much promoted is how quickly this is. Right. How quickly this works.
And we talked about that before. I mean, it's going to be
and right now it's not
slow.
It's slowing down because again, if you're not willing to pay a high transaction fee to these miners, so now these miners are charging a fee because they're using a lot of electricity.
Yep.
They need some income coming in. Maybe they're not getting rewarded as much as they were in the past, but they can charge transaction fees for verifying that transaction or to putting that transaction onto the algorithm to solve it. So you're transacting with me. That miner can charge a transaction fee to you, which means it's actually like, imagine it's like a VIP ticket, or like you can get closer to the front of the line if you want that transaction to be processed quicker than others. Mm-hmm. And if you're not willing to pay top dollar to get to the front of the line, you're going to have to wait in line for it to be transacted.
Okay, so when you're mentioning the transactions and it's happening faster, is that what Segwit 2 is going to do?
So Segwit 2 is to expand block size, which allows for more transactions to get verified quicker. Yes, essentially yes.
Okay.
But
now, so the biggest question, are people going to use that more than Bitcoin then?
Well, it doesn't really matter if they're using it more than Bitcoin, because if the miners all start pointing their rigs onto, you're right. It has there's a few factors, but one of the biggest one is the miners, and you got the New York Agreement saying that 80% of these miners are going to point over here onto this blockage chain saying we want to work over here because we can verify more quickly, we can get rewarded more blocks, and it's going to become more efficient for everyone else. So you have all these people who are arguing for the legacy Bitcoin or for the Segwit 2x, but we saw the same thing with Bitcoin Gold, which is absolutely terrible.
Garbage, yeah, garbage.
Bitcoin Cash. So what happens when you fork when you fork a chain? Whatever you have on that legacy chain, let's say I have 5 Bitcoin,
okay,
which is pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty good account. So 5 Bitcoin on the legacy chain, and it forks right over here to Segwit 2x. Whatever that coin's going to be, they're saying Bitcoin 2x or whatever the hell they call it. Yeah. I mean, Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin Cash, all this bullshit. In my opinion, Bitcoin's Bitcoin, baby. I'm riding to the end. I'm a ride or die guy.
Well, so to that extent,
okay,
when you're asking about like how this one might be different, the alternative viewpoint is if Bitcoin Legacy, the original, the OG, the granddad, survives, meaning
I think it will.
And if it does, and people are like, oh, okay, so it survived all these hard forks, all of these issues, all these blockchain sizes, and if it does that, then it's taken even more seriously in what's going to happen.
It's really going to become, and this is why I'm such a believer, it's going to become the digital gold standard. Because you know what? It is slow to transact, and it's not as
But if it is a digital gold standard, it's going to go higher.
I agree. And you know what? Purchasing, it's like, okay, same thing again, the exponential growth rate. I love using that term because it's happening much quicker in this time frame.
Yeah.
But during the gold standard, we quit transacting in gold and it had representation for the gold, correct?
Right, correct.
Okay.
But we didn't actually transact in gold necessarily. Sometimes we did.
Way back when we did.
Way back when.
But what's happening here is, again, with the access to information and with this decentralized network and the ledger and the internet overall, and now the blockchain, those hundreds of years are now condensing into hundreds of days. Exactly.
Yeah,
so what I think is going to happen, and I'll get back to the Segwit fork in a second.
Okay.
What I think is going to happen is that Bitcoin Legacy will remain. It will become it'll be harder to mine. It'll be harder to transaction. But it's still going to be valuable. So what does that mean? The demand will rise.
And if demand goes up, there's a limited supply of something.
Exactly.
Nick, what do you think? He's a genius, man. He is a man of few words, but the words he speaks.
A modern day Renaissance man.
You got it.
That's how I like to think of you and I. but where was I?
Okay, so you want to get back to the fork. Tell me about
But what I think what's going to happen though is there's going to be a new cryptocurrency evolved, whether it's through a government, whether it's through an awesome developer or whatever.
Which would make sense if a government did it. I'm fine with that. And then Bitcoin's the gold standard of digital assets.
Correct. And I think that's probably what's going to happen. I've been calling that for about 2 years now.
Wow.
And I think I said it before on this podcast.
That's very forward thinking.
Right. I mean, listen.
I'm not blowing smoke, man.
Here's what I think. Every digital coin or token is either a security, okay, or a commodity. Yeah. And that includes currencies. That's it. Security, commodity. And guess what? There's regulators and there's regulatory groups that can facilitate and monitor all that and prosecute if there needs to be prosecution. Everything's in place, and everyone's saying these are new asset classes. Listen, I understand there's like utility behind some of these tokens, but if people are trading them on secondary markets and speculating, that's a commodity.
Yeah.
You know? Unless you are baking into that token smart contract, it's not allowed for secondary exchanges, and it's not allowing for trading. Though I do think if you have one of these tokens that allows you to do this, and I want some of that, I can buy it from you, there's going to be marketplaces for this to happen.
Right.
But how are you going to regulate all this? I think that needs to be done through the CTFC and the SEC. So I don't know what currency is going to be that's going to be easier transacted. That's all that. But Bitcoin,
Litecoin maybe?
Maybe. I think Litecoin is more of a silver to the Bitcoin
gold.
To the Bitcoin. I don't want to say Bitcoin gold, but to Bitcoin.
Oh, like, yeah, it's hard. You can't. It's true. You can't say
see.
Bitcoin
So like,
gold.
yeah, terminology can fuck a lot of people up too.
Do you think that true? And man, almost tongue tied because you have Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Gold. But the exchanges don't want that name even tied to it. So they use, like, Coinbase uses BCC. They don't even want the word bit in there when it says Bitcoin Cash.
Right. So, like, yeah, as far as, like, symbols and all that, it can get overwhelming for people who really don't stay on top of it.
Have no idea what's going on, yeah.
Right.
There's a lot happening so quickly. I mean, even we're in the space all the time. I'm like, there's another fork.
Right. So it's like...
we got to make this podcast now.
So if you've been, like, a part of this podcast and you've bought some Bitcoin and you're holding some Bitcoin...
You're going to get free...
Depends.
Well, it depends on what exchange you're holding on. This is true.
Not only exchange, but what wallet. So, whew, I know, man.
Wild.
I know. So if you hold Bitcoin, you want to protect your Bitcoin, I would put it in a cold storage wallet if you want.
That's what most people are saying.
Yeah. Or if you have it onto an exchange and you really don't care about the hard fork, that's fine. But if we do fork in this other direction, it's going to be up to the exchange. It's going to be up to the wallet software providers to give updates to those wallets. Now, there may be some wallets where if you're holding your Bitcoin, legacy Bitcoin, and the fork happens, yes, you can get the equivalent of what you have over here.
In exchange for this.
Exactly.
Yeah. And now the funny thing is, as far as a trading related to this, what most people do when they get it, a month or so after they get it, is they sell it.
Right.
Like Bitcoin Cash went from like 700-ish to 350 in a week and a half.
Yeah.
It was bad.
So, I actually had some Bitcoin in my Ledger, and I will plug for Ledger here. We're not sponsored at all, just like the technology, like what they do. Maybe you guys can't sponsor. If you want to sponsor us, we'd be happy to plug you a little bit more. I use a Ledger hardware wallet, and after the Bitcoin Cash fork happened, I went in there like 2 or 3 weeks later, and I claimed my Bitcoin Cash. Boom, there it was. And it was the same amount I had because of the blockchain. It's a distributed ledger. You can't go back in time and change things. So whatever amount I had at that address of Bitcoin, that's the amount I'm going to get at Bitcoin Cash. Yeah. So there's no way of manipulating this either, which is awesome.
Do me a favor, Brainiac. Condense what the hell you just
said.
Consolidate for me. Okay, you're here. I'm here.
Okay.
I'm the dumb guy with 100 IQ. I don't know what the quadratic formula is.
If you want to protect your Bitcoin, don't transact in any type of Bitcoin. Don't buy or sell any Bitcoin. Just and Segwit is supposed to be happening at a specific block. I don't know what the number block that is.
Somewhere around November 16th.
Somewhere around November 16th. When Segwit starts to kick in, there's going to be a lot of uncertainty. Which chain are we going to start operating on? And it's probably going to take... It's not going to be like an overnight thing.
No.
So we're going to see volatility. Don't buy or sell any Bitcoin. I'm a big believer in holding what you have on a secure cold storage wallet.
Yep.
If you have your Bitcoin on an exchange, you have to be cognizant of that, and you have to understand that specific exchange may not recognize Segwit happening.
So make sure they do recognize it. No Coinbase does. I've gotten numerous emails.
Right. Yeah, usually,
Not Coinbase Gold. They say you can go screw yourself, or Bitcoin Gold.
Right.
They say go screw yourself. Segwit, so that is one of them for sure.
And we'll start to see a real winner in the I think in the 6 to 7 days following that November 16th date.
Wow.
Once the dust starts settling, we'll start to understand what's going to be happening.
We're going to get some more data.
And here is the secret ingredient to it all that not many people know.
What is it, baby?
It's the replay effect. So when you fork...
What's the replay effect?
Right, yeah. Replay effect, yeah. When you fork, when you hard fork, what can happen is if your Bitcoin's on an exchange and you transact, okay, there's a fork there's a chain over here and there's a chain over here. If you don't bake in the protocol so that you cannot have replay effect on both chains, what can happen is that if you transact on this chain, someone can go in, read through the blockchain, your address and what you've transacted, and replay it on the other chain, so you can actually lose money. So that's why I'm a fan of cold storage wallet. Get it off the exchanges for this November 16th split. And I think that the winner of this whole This is just bullshit, in my opinion, man. I understand the enthusiasts because listen, people who are like, "What's Bitcoin?" We're confusing more people. We're not onboarding more people as far as newcomers.
But if we did, it'd be slower. That's what they're trying to speed up.
I know. But let's not fork Bitcoin. Bitcoin needs to be the gold standard. The Bitcoin core developers are fucking geniuses, man.
Yeah.
And I think what's going to happen is that they're going to implement the no replay effect on Bitcoin Legacy because Segwit 2x does not have that right now.
And if that happens,
and if Bitcoin Legacy core developers implement a no replay effect, I think that's an ultimate winner, and it's fucking boom, game over. And I think that's what they're waiting for, to be honest.
Woo! It makes sense.
I'm a Legacy fan. I'm gonna be.
You're a Legacy fan, right?
Ride or die.
I am too, though.
Ride
I
or
am
die.
too. I have a few Bitcoin as well. Legacy, I'm gonna keep it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sell Segwit. 6.
And here's another thing that I'm completely baffled about, and I don't agree with. You got how many companies did I say? 50-some companies. I said here. I have it right here.
From Consensus, CoinCensus. Is it CoinCensus?
Consensus.
Oh, we missed out.
CoinCensus. I like that. 58 companies from 22 companies. They have 83% of the hashing power, which means that's the miners. All these miners are saying we're going to go to Segwit 2. Why the hell? You're monopolizing in this space.
Yeah.
How come we don't, as users, don't have say as to where it goes? This is supposed to be a decentralized, distributed type of technology,
right?
And now you have 58 of the biggest companies that have the most hashing power to mine, making decisions to say we're going on this hard fork. That's bullshit, in my opinion.
Well, I'm about to send you down even more big of a tangent. You're not going to like this one. Because we were talking about this the other day. I mean, when you get into ICOs and the media companies and how they're pumping it, right? I mean, tell us what's your opinion on this, because that's
okay. So there's the digital currency group, and this is all public information. Listen, I have a very interesting life. It would probably be viewed as completely boring and nerdy to other people, but I like going down rabbit holes. I like performing due diligence. I like vetting companies. I like learning about it. I have tons of different resources, but they're all public. You just have to know how to navigate appropriately.
Yeah.
I have figured out through public knowledge and public resources, and it's not hard to see, that this space is very corrupt. There's a lot of toxic individuals and entities that aren't doing themselves any favors. They certainly aren't doing newcomers in this space any favors. There's pump and dump schemes going on. There's bad actors. And I do believe that one of these regulators are going to get involved relatively soon. ICOs probably being the easiest entry point for regulators to come in, because there has been some scams, okay? You want to talk about Filecoin today. I'm not going to say my opinion of what Filecoin, how they conducted, what they do, or anything like that. Filecoin it seems like it's a great utility for storage on the blockchain.
Okay.
And there's also a few others. But when you're looking at ICOs, read the white paper, look at the development team. Well, what you start to see, if you go as far deep as I do, is the Digital Currency Group, DCG, okay, is I don't want to say a holding company, but they have a lot of active subsidiaries.
Yeah.
One of those being Protocol Labs. Guess what? Protocol Labs is the one who launched Filecoin. Not only that, the DCG, Digital Currency Group, also owns which media companies? Again, it's all here. I can show you guys. It has their portfolio of other companies.
You're like, Digital Currency
Group. CoinDesk, Coinbase. I mean, I'm not saying Coinbase is a good player, but CoinDesk, Cointelegraph, there is media companies under their portfolio that they have active play in. So
repeat that. So you're saying they own the media companies.
I don't know if
they potentially own the media companies.
I don't know if they own full outright ownership.
Right.
I don't know if they have minority or majority play in these different entities. Okay. I am not sure of the actual stakeage in all these companies. All I know is I look at their portfolio companies, and these are their portfolio companies, and you have media companies, and you have companies building other coins. And what happens? Listen, here's how you conduct a successful ICO. You write a white paper and you market the hell out of it. Yeah. If you have $1 million worth of marketing capital,
budget behind you, yeah.
Write a white paper, put a team behind it. If you're a credible team, market the hell out of it, and you will sell the hell out of it. So, what do the principals in the DCG group do? Okay, here's an ICO, whether it's their buddy or a business associate of theirs who wants to conduct an ICO. Hey, we're going to give you pre-ICO access at a discount.
Which would be great. I would like that.
Which would be great. Yeah. Fantastic.
Because I'm a whale.
Listen, here's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
We'll give you that if you go over to your media companies that you have playing or that you can puppeteer and you pump the hell out of ICO. Okay, deal. Boom, you go over there, you market the shit out of it to all these different media companies. Okay, fantastic. You get pre-ICO status. Boom, you come in. I hook you up with 25-50% discount on these coins, right? Before the whole general crowd can come in. Okay, so now you happy? You good? You got a discount here.
Yep.
You just pumped it over there. Boom, open it up to the crowd, and it sells out in 24 hours. It sells out in 12 hours, 3 hours. You've seen all these trophy round ICOs.
Yeah.
Okay, boom. We just closed an awesome ICO. We just raised, I don't know how much Filecoin raised. It was quite a bit though. Tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, what can you do as a whale that you got your...
Now that I have mine, I'm...
At a discounted rate, yeah. What can you do? Are you going to hold on to it?
No.
Why not? Well, why not? You have faith in the project, right? That's why you've invested, because you want this project to do well, right?
But since we're speaking,
or do you want to make money? I want to
make money.
Hell yeah, you want to make money?
Yeah.
So you're going to go...
Your white paper is too short. It doesn't even have anything on it.
And why'd you invest? Oh, because I gave you a discounted rate, and I knew that you could pump it over there, and we'd have tons of people coming in and participating in this ICO.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do now? Guess what? You go to the secondary markets.
Yep.
Bitfinex, Poloniex, all these different non-regulated. No one regulates these people. No one regulates these exchanges, and guess who owns those exchanges? The same people who have active play in the media companies. It's called a pump and dump, people. I mean, holy shit. And then you go unload your coin, and then, I mean, look at some of these ICO projects. They've raised millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And now they're worth half of what they've raised.
Right.
Where the fuck did the money go?
Right.
Because I don't see any development. Here's what's crazy, dude. I've seen some, September ICOs, and you go to their website, and what is it? It's almost mid-November.
Yep.
And it still has on there, or our ICO has closed. It's like, you've been closed for two months now. What are you doing? Update your website. Give us something that shows where you've been. I guarantee you are going to see regulators come in and make an example out of a few people, maybe one specifically, maybe one of the biggest ones, and you're going to see that if people aren't developing with their coins or with the capital,
what they said they're going to do. I mean, obviously it's illegal.
It's illegal. Fuck.
Well, I'll put it to you this way: the same thing happens in the stock market world. You know this, right? With penny stocks.
Penny stocks.
Yeah, sure. It's not as
Steve Madden, right? It's the same shit, right?
Pretty much, similar.
Pump the help. I want you shoving Steve Madden stock down your clients' throats.
Yeah, so you're talking about Wolf on Wall Street,
right? Yeah.
So I mean, the same game has been going on for a long time.
Okay.
But this is just a new, faster spectrum with things that people don't know about, because everyone knows what penny stocks are. No one knows what an ICO is, right? And we're going to be launching soon the podcast we did not too long ago about ICOs are illegal. Yeah. Most ICOs are illegal. That's coming out.
So it's the wild, wild west, right?
Wild
and there's really no sheriffs in town.
Or John Wayne.
Except for maybe one. The TXSRB, that's the Token and Exchange Self-Regulating Body. So these people created this self-regulatory body to really help enforce. And you know what? There's probably a few others, but what are these self-regulating bodies doing? Hopefully they're working with government regulators to help them understand here's what's going on in this space. Because I know that the government, and I know that big banks are looking at ICOs and what the hell is this space and trying to understand it.
Yeah.
I guarantee there's senators and politicians looking at this shit.
Sure, of course. Well, they?
So it really needs to start being monitored. I think it's going to happen really soon. But here's what's crazy. You would think like after the DAO announcement, because the DAO essentially was an ICO. I mean,
the DAO.
For the Ethereum chain.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So the SEC put out the DAO report in July, and we saw a retraction in capital raised through ICOs, and then it went right back up. Mm-hmm. SEC's putting out investor bulletins about ICOs, and we're still conducting them. So there needs to be some hard litigation that comes down on some of these asshole players in this space, because you know what they're doing for the rest of us? They're ruining this awesome revolutionary technology. That's what it is.
That got heated. It was intense.
And I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus.
You did throw some people under the bus, though. You did.
I said some entity names. That doesn't mean that entity is conducting business the wrong way. That's more or less a warning or a hey, entity, whatever one I named, you better look at some of the players or some of the advisors or investors in your company, because shit is not good and you could come under a lot of scrutiny. So, protect yourself.
Get a magnifying glass. Look at some stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
So where are we going from here? What's your thoughts?
So, when is all this going to happen? I think it's going to happen relatively soon. And how is it going to happen? It's either going to be someone who conducted an illegal ICO that shows their coins, take on the characteristics of a security. Mm-hmm. Or I really do think that the exchanges are what they're going to come after next. I think some of these exchanges list tokens that take on, again, the characteristics of a security. So you're allowing for the trade of illegal securities. Mm-hmm. They don't have any broker-dealer licenses. They don't have any licensures that allow you to conduct that type of business. So I think an exchange is probably going to be made an example of,
right?
Or an ICO, and then from there you're going to see a lot of. It's going to be a domino effect, because based on that one rules or that regulation or whatever, that litigation, and if the SEC says, "Hey, we're going to investigate this group," I don't care what coin you are or what group you are. If the SEC announces that you're coming under investigation, your coin or your token is going to be delisted from every exchange.
Yeah,
no one's going to want to touch you. Everything's going to go like this because, I don't even want to risk it.
Yeah. There was a few that got taken off some exchanges recently, though.
Yeah.
Is that why? EOS, was that one of them? Which ones got taken off?
Tezos. Here's another problem.
Okay.
Tezos has a class action lawsuit ongoing right now. What happened was this couple, I don't know if they're married or not, pretty intelligent developers, went over to Switzerland, met with a group, and said, hey, we want to do an ICO. We have this idea. Okay, great. They were advised to start a foundation in Switzerland. Okay, they started a foundation. And again, I'm not on the inside here. This is just all public knowledge. They raised all this capital, and the foundation said to the founding developers, and I think it's a boyfriend, girlfriend, or a husband and wife. I think it's a husband and wife. Said, we're going to control all the funds. And it's like, holy shit. Our dream and our company that we started, we went and got advice from these people in Switzerland. They said to form a foundation. They raised all the money. Now they're controlling the money. So, I mean, dude, it's like...
Deep. Yeah.
Your project, like, you can't do your own project. You can't develop. I can't pay my developers. I can't pay office space if the foundation's holding all the funds.
Right.
So it's like, holy shit. I mean, this is getting real squirrely. Mm. And, there's class action lawsuits popping up now.
Yeah, well.
So, and if you have all this bad playing going on or bad actors, you're going to want to, if you're an exchange, you're going to want to delist those bad actors.
Sure. Of course. Makes sense. So we've gone far already today. We've gone real far. So let's.
You know what today's topic should be, or you know what it should say?
Brian's upset.
It should just say controversy in the Bitcoin blockchain space, because what we did today is cover all the controversy. You got Bitcoin legacy, we got Segwit, we got ICOs, regulation, all this. This is pretty much the biggest controversy that's going on in this space.
Right.
You know, and this shouldn't turn anyone off from Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, because it's a phenomenal evolution in not only technology but human beings and how we interact. So there's a lot of awesome projects out there, and there's guys who have raised funds through an ICO and are building out projects.
Yeah, they're doing it legit.
Yeah, absolutely. So
it's like I said, it's a give and take, man. It's very similar. I should say very similar. There's a lot of similarities to the stock market.
Right.
Your IPO.
And you know what? There's always going to be another bad player in the game.
There's always going to be someone. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what we're doing. I mean, you're always going to want to do due diligence. You're always going to want to read stuff. We've said this before in other podcasts. Get smart. Turn your brain on. Read something. Learn a little bit about what the heck you're investing in. Unless you just don't care about what your money does. And then, okay, sure, whatever.
You know what else I think? And you and I might have had this conversation off camera, but I really do think when you start turning your brain on and reading not only just about today was Bitcoin and blockchain, but AI technology. I was reading on SpaceX the other day and Elon Musk and some of the stuff he's been doing. Holy cow, mind blowing, right?
Yeah,
what people said about him and not being able to do this with electric cars and everything like that. You really start just to open your eyes. You start to become more awake and understand the flow of how everything's starting to work, and it allows you to trust your gut more. Yeah. So this intrinsic feeling you get when you're either maybe going into businesses with someone or researching an ICO or whatever it may be, you really start to get that intuition operating at a higher level, and you can feel that more. So, and that's the goal here. You know, our goal is to have fun, educate, but turn the brains on, get the juices flowing.
That's right. Most of the goal is for me to learn from you. That's pretty much what it is.
I gotta start learning from you.
It's been you're right, man. This has been a great podcast. It's been a very good session. For those tuning in, I hope this brought up a lot of good questions. Maybe some good answers.
Ask us some questions.
Yeah, ask us some. Post us in there.
Suggest us. I mean, feel free to argue. I have tough skin. I'm not going to...
Yeah, he doesn't cry. I argue with him all the time. So,
if you think I'm wrong, if you think that ICOs are not securities or commodities and it's new asset, whatever you do, I mean, I'm open to hearing everyone's opinions and thoughts.
Yeah, so throw them in there. Give us your comments. Let us know what you think. We got a lot of great content coming your way, folks. A lot of good interviews coming up. A lot of good projections and discussions about the future, currency, AI technology, AR. Right, we got to talk a little bit more about augmented reality.
Yep.
Right, that's going to be real sweet. 3D printing, nanotechnology. It's all coming your way, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning into the IR4 podcast. You are rocks. Thanks for being our patrons. You're amazing. And until next time, love, live, and learn. We'll see you.